Alright, so this week we are continuing the exploration of Eberron. And last week we made a party of 4 characters, each of which was the unique race of Eberron. We made a changeling, a Kalishtar, a long-tooth shifter, and a skirmisher warforged. This week, what I want to focus on is how the quote-unquote normal races of fantasy can also be included in Eberron and made sort of put like an Eberron brand on them. And one way to do that, oh, D&D time, thank you for the auto host. And one way to do that is to apply something called a Dragonmark on a character. Some of the races in Eberron are sort of genetically exclusive to have a certain Dragonmark. And we'll explore that as we still go through, and we're going to use our random roll guide. However, it is possible to receive an aberrant Dragonmark. And, what's a Dragonmark, let alone an aberrant one? We'll get to it in the character creation process, so don't worry. We'll get there. By the time we're finished this week, we will have a party of, well, it'll be kind of a party of 9. Because last week, I didn't get to do the Sharn adventure due to the fact that it was just, it was a day and I couldn't. I'd rather not present to you all if I'm feeling bleary or blah or sick or whatever. And so I thought it was easier. I made a judgment call to say, let's hold off on the story because we're still making Eberron characters, and then we can go over and make a Sharn adventure. And then maybe we could run them through it or do another examination. So yeah, we're still gonna be using the same random roll guide, okay? We will be using the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, and we will still be supplementing these characters with the Sharn backgrounds if they have a bribe or a debt, I should say, or a regret or some kind of a military background as well, because we want to steep ourselves in Eberron last week and this week as well to really get a feel for that neo-noir setting, that kind of pulp adventure genre that Eberron really hopes to encourage. And so our characters are going to be a little bit more tragic or flawed or fleshed out with random characteristics that'll be up to us to have come alive in our noggins, okay? So, first things first, we're going to roll a percentile to find out if we have a male, female, or multi-class character. With an 82, this is a male. A male what? We are going to roll a 9-sided die and find out. 1. A male dwarf. Specifically, and we're going to do odds or evens here. We'll do it on a D10. Evens. A male hill dwarf. Now, dwarves are genetically predisposed to have a certain Dragonmark, so this character will carry that. And in fact, you'll see that maybe the hill portion doesn't so much apply. We'll get to it though. All right, next up, his alignment is 2D100, 7184. We cross-reference that. Neutral, neutral or chaotic neutral. There we go. Chaotic neutral. And we will generate him at level, let's see, a 52 gives us a level 12 character. That means that he is going to have the opportunity to take up to 3 feats, because at level 4, 8, and 12, you are, unless you're a fighter, you get what's called an ability score improvement, or an ASI, or a stat bump as noted on the chart up here. So we'll make that bold as well. So let's determine if he's going to go pure stat bumps or if he's going to take some feats. Roll a percentile. At 65, we're going to go pure stat bumps. Now we're going to take a 13-sided die and roll it for his background. 13. Ooh, he is an urchin. Or was. I mean, maybe he's grown up and isn't, you know, living on the streets anymore. And now we come to the part where we roll... Oh, I'm sorry. Almost. Let's give him his two personality traits. Well, one of them is 6, but let's not have a repetition. There we go. 6 and 3. And then we're going to roll 3d6 and get 4, 5, 4. These are placeholders. It doesn't matter what they mean right now. We'll come back to it. Okay, now... what class is he going to be? Let's roll the big golden D12 and find out. 1. A barbarian. And specifically a... evens, a totem warrior barbarian. Okay, now we're going to come down to... height and weight modifiers. As a hill dwarf, we start at 3'8", and we're going to add 2d4 inches to his height. We're adding 7 inches, so he is going to be 3'15". There we go. Now we are going to take this same 7, multiply it by 2d6, and add that to his base weight. Times 5. So we're adding 35 pounds to 115, and he is 150 pounds. Lastly, we're going to roll a percentile and find out where on this curve he lies within a dwarf's life. We rolled a 13, so he's not a child prodigy. He is a young adult. And for a dwarf, a young adult is between 50 and 100. So we're going to generate a 50-sided die and roll it. 45. So he is a young adult at 95 years old. That says something, right? He's still got a lot of vigor in his bones. Now, mind you, when we do this, by young adult, obviously he's an adult by human standards. Actually, he's venerable and should already be dead. This is from the cultural perspective of his own people. He is considered a young adult. And so even at 95, despite probably already living through 1 or 2 generations of friends, of human friends, that he's had to see grow old and die off, he may still carry some juvenile qualities, at least so much as the dwarves are concerned. Okay. We have a little bit more number generation to do, but it's not going to be involving our base document here, okay? We're going to minimize this and come back to our Sharn backgrounds. Hey, 12 for 10? It's going very well, thank you. We rolled an Urchin, and so let's find out, because we're going to have this Eberron campaign take place in Sharn, which is the giant, like the big city on Eberron. And as you can see, each of the backgrounds, the 13 of them in the PHB, is given a Sharn twist in the back of the document here. And here we go, Urchin. The lower wards of Sharn are riddled with poverty. You had to find your own path in the harsh city. Are you an orphan, or were you scavenging to help ailing parents or needy siblings? Are you still young, or is your time as an urchin a thing of the past? We're going to roll a d4. And so we are going to be here. We'll put this in character backstory. We are Urchin 1. You grew up on the streets of lower Dura, you had to find or steal the things you needed to survive. You don't trust anyone or anything except the few friends you've made over the years. You'd do anything for your friends, even become an adventurer. This is a great prompt for you as a PC or for you as a DM. That's what I love about the background system in 5th edition. It provides so much, it provides an excellent springboard for everyone involved on both sides of the DM screen. All right, now we're going to roll up here, and I don't believe that Urchin is represented on the military backgrounds. No, criminal or charlatan. We're not going to worry about that. So we're going to roll an odd or even to either give him a regret or a debt, and we'll roll the 12. Regrets are odd, debts are even, because you want to even up your debts. Evens it is. All right, so he has a debt, and we're going to roll a d10 and discover what kind of debt he has. 8. All right, debt number 8. You've got a price on your head until you settle things with House Tharashk. You'd better keep an eye out for bounty hunters. All right, there we go. Does this add a little bit more compelling storytelling to this character? Are you more easily able to start sculpting him out of the etherealness from whence all our characters come? So the next thing we're going to do is finish our background. That's important. I want to do background before race and before class, per normal. Let's go over to Chapter 4, and we're going to scroll to the back. Careful, this may flash a little bit. Here we go, Urchin. Our proficiencies are with Sleight of Hand and Stealth. We have tool proficiencies with a These Guys kit and Thieves Tools. Equipment that we get. Now, it says a small knife. If you want to talk to your DM and say, hey, can I start with a dagger? Maybe your DM will say yes. Or maybe they'll say, no, it's just a little pocket knife, like, you know, or like a letter opener, like something about the size of... Well, all right, so you can't see this. This is this is a light green dry erase marker. Oh, and it's a wand of disappearing. Woo! Woo! So yeah, it might just be a little pocket knife. Maybe it was sentimental, right? A pocket knife. A map of the city you grew up in. So here we have a map of Sharn. A token to remember your parents by. Hey, Illumines. Good to see you again. So here's our token, which is going to be trinket number ? And this is something that we inherited from our parents, one way or another. Common clothes. And a belt pouch, which contains 10 gold pieces. Now, something of note, and that this could be fun. Oh yeah, the Undermountain ones, Illumines? I think that'll be a lot of fun. Is that you also get a pet mouse. A very interesting roleplay prompt here. Does this mean you have to have a pet mouse at all? Or a mouse? Talk to your DM. What if it's a pet snake? What if it's a pet magpie? What if it's a pet ferret? If you wanted, then it seems like that this could let you start out. Here's page number 4 on the modified character sheet. And if you wanted, you could go through and make a character sheet for whoever your pet is. Now, do you have any kind of, magical, mystical bond with the pet? No, not necessarily. It's just a pet. Maybe it'll listen to some basic verbal commands. You don't have an empathic or telepathic link to it. But it is something to consider. And what we can do up here is like a placeholder. We can just say like a pet mouse or a pet rat or something. But yeah, Illumines, I do look forward to seeing what's in store in those modules. Additionally, we're going to take a peek at Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Yep, hey, just as you were mentioning that. That'll be this month. And what we're going to do after this second week of Eberron is I will download the playtest rules in Pathfinder. And I think next week, maybe the week following also, we'll take a little break from core D&D. I mean, you could say Eberron might be. But we'll explore Pathfinder 2nd Edition also. Our background feature is called City Secrets. You know the secret patterns and flow to cities and can find passages through the urban sprawl that others would miss. When you are not in combat, you and companions you lead can travel between any 2 locations in the city twice as fast as your speed would normally allow. Well, Illumines, you're welcome. I mean, you join me in it in so much that you're joining in the conversation right now. As what I will do is I'll download the rules and go over them, and we'll make some random characters together, and we'll explore the mechanics of Pathfinder. Now let's fill in the rest of his personality. Personality trait number 6. I think anyone who's nice to me is hiding evil intent. And number 3. I like to squeeze into small places where no one else can get to me. Well, we do have a dwarf. He'll be pretty adept at that, huh? Next up is his ideal, number 4. Retribution. The rich need to be shown what life and death are like in the gutters. I think we're building a backstory pretty well with this. We're getting an idea of perhaps how he came to be an urchin and how he expresses himself, even though, well, we're making a level 12 barbarian. So he's earned his street cred by probably getting into more than one brawl. He is actually going to be a totem warrior barbarian, Illumines. His bond is number 5. I escaped my life of poverty by robbing an important person, and I'm wanted for it. This blends into our Eberron supplement to make him an Eberron character, or at least a little bit more fleshed out, in so much that you've got a price on your head until you settle things with House Tharashk. You'd better keep an eye out for bounty hunters. How about that? It's working really well, isn't it? Well, he's not necessarily a criminal. He just grew up on the streets. Now, lastly, his flaw is number 4, because we are all flawed creatures. I'd rather kill someone in their sleep than fight fair. So yes, He learned to be a barbarian on the streets. He is a street fighter. Chaotic neutral Illumines. And you know what? That pet mouse? What if that pet mouse is actually what led him on the path to become a totem warrior? So he might not even belong to any sort of barbarian tribe. He just grew up on the streets, and he learned. He's probably had his jaw broken a couple times. He's busted his butt, and he's busted others, and all the while he's kept this pet mouse that perhaps found him. Well, what if this pet mouse was actually a spirit animal that had found him, and has led him on the way to be a totem warrior? It's deep Illumines, and look, all of this is coming through pure random number generation. As much as on Twitch as a platform we go RNG, RNG bad. Here, RNG is good. It challenges us, and it helps us create compelling characters that you could write a novel about, that you could make as your own character. You could make as an NPC if you are a DM and you want something interesting on the side. You know, this could be a villain character, right? Yeah, he's chaotic neutral, but if you as a DM are going through this exercise, this could be maybe even if it's a misunderstood villain. Like the monster, Frankenstein's monster or something. He just grew up under bad circumstances. That's the only life he knows. And so, he has become very animalistic. Kind of like a Blanca from Street Fighter or something, right? All right, now, dwarves may not be. We all have preferences as players, or in the societies that we generate, in worlds that we generate. Now that we have our background in place, and arguably with everything that we've just produced, we already have a character. At this point in time, ask yourself, do stats really matter? Do ability scores really matter? Or do we actually have a fleshed out character? Can you imagine this person walking off of the PDF and out into a world and interacting with it and having compelling reasons about from where he's come from and to where he's going? That's right, Rytel. Someone doesn't have to be capital E evil to make a good antagonist. Because your big bad evil guy, your BBEG, doesn't have to be evil. And it could just be an antagonist or even a foil or a rival. Alright, so what we're going to do now is hop over to the Dwarven Race. And I'm not going to delve into dwarves just yet, because I want to go over with you all what Dragonmarks are and what they mean, and perhaps, who gets them as well. And you can see here, there's some Eberron themed considerations we could give to this dwarf in particular, because this is an Eberron setting character. So let's take a look at this real quick before we get to Dragonmarks. The origin of the dwarves is shrouded in mystery. Their legends say they came to Corvair from a land of endless ice. Some believe this to mean the Arctic Frostfell, while others assert that the first dwarves must have come from the plain of Rizia itself. Wherever they began, the dwarves established a mighty nation beneath the surface of Corvair. Tales speak of mighty artifacts and vast treasures crafted in the deeps, and of wars fought against the Goblin Empire of Dakan. No one knows where the line lies between truth and story. The ancestors of the modern dwarves were exiles from this ancient kingdom, and the realm below was destroyed by the Daelkyr. Bold adventurers can delve into the haunted darkness of the fallen kingdom, but legends are only legacy modern dwarves have in this age of glory. Dwarves are spread across Corvair. Dwarf soldiers and engineers were part of the armies that united the Five Nations, and dwarf masons laid the foundation of the greatest cities of Galifar. While many of the dwarves of the Five Nations still speak the language of their ancestors, they feel a bond to the lands of their birth. A Braelish dwarf feels a deep personal connection to the towers of Sharn or the great walls of Rote. The typical dwarf is actually more patriotic than the average human of the Five Nations. This passion caused most dwarves to serve their nation in the last war, at least for a time. This is the most general basis of dwarven weapon training. Most dwarves also have a strong bond to their families, so to a dwarf, family and nation are two edges of the same blade. As a dwarf of the Five Nations, consider how widespread your family is and where they put their roots to lie. And where their roots lie. Are they soldiers, priests, or politicians? Well, in this case, we have an urchin, so we might not even know is this character. The Mror holds are discussed in Chapter 2. One question to consider is why you've left the holds. Whether you're an heir of a noble clan or a simple guild artisan, what has drawn you away from your homeland? The Mror Pass table provides a few ideas. Dwarves and Dragonmarks. House Kunderic carries the mark of warding. In addition to providing all manner of security, House Kunderic dominates the banking industry. So, Mror Past. If we want to deepen our character further, what if our character then is an urchin in Sharn, but was brought to Sharn by parents who, I don't know, what if we almost have a Batman-like character? His parents were perhaps a member of this, of House Kunderic, right? And they came here on business and they were murdered. And the baby was found and probably brought down to the lower levels and raised out of some mercy by other urchins or, scrappy people. And so we can give this dwarf a Dragonmark that perhaps manifests. And we can have a story in this campaign in our heads. Here we have someone who was born into nothing. Born into poverty, into disease. He had a pet mouse, and that was it. Well, the pet mouse, continued to live and stay on longer than a mouse should. And he learned to brawl on the streets and become a barbarian. And this mouse turned into his Totem Spirit. Maybe the mouse died, but it continued to live on because of his fierce passion and energy. So it's actually sustained by his own life kind of a thing. And so over the course of the campaign, we can lay a seed where this character learns that he is from Mror, and in particular can manifest this Dragonmark. And this is proof of his lineage, perhaps leading to this poor, this street urchin dwarf who grow up, bare knuckle fighting in the streets for scraps of bread and stealing and all this other stuff, is now maybe set to inherit, thousands of gold or something along those lines once his family connection is proven. And you know what? Maybe the people who have a price on his head, yes, for stealing, might know or learn of this identity and actually seek to collect some sort of a reward or bounty themselves in order to capture him and turn him back over. Or hold him hostage even for a great sum of money, because he might actually be an heir to a fortune. Hey, Darkwolf, no problem. Enjoy your game. So why don't we roll this? Let's roll a d6 and figure out our character's Mror past. M3, Mror 3. Your clan has arranged your marriage and your future. You've decided to have a few adventures before you settle down. This could be something that's waiting for us, or if we're presuming by level 12, our character might have already started to develop this and learn about it. we can incorporate this in some way. But this is still, even if it's not an immediately applicable part of the character, and it still may, it's at least a boundary set ahead of us for us to consider in a beacon to which we can guide ourselves. Alright, now, as he was growing up, he manifested a Dragonmark. This is going to be a part of his race, is how it works mechanically. Dragonmarks are associated with race depicted by a combination of variant races and sub-races. For dwarves, elves, and gnomes and halflings, the Dragonmark replaces your sub-race. So yes, he is technically a hill dwarf. Mechanically, he is a dwarf with a Dragonmark as his sub-race. Right, so for humans and half-orcs, a Dragonmark is a variant race that replaces the normal traits associated with those races. For half-elves, a Dragonmark is a variant race. You keep some of the standard half-elf traits and replace others with the traits associated with your mark. And then for dwarves, elves, gnomes, and halflings, it's a full-fledged sub-race. As we come down here, we can see that dwarves have the Mark of Warding in House Kunderic. Banking, storage, and prisons are the guild's specialties. Dragonmarks and backgrounds. Dragonmarks are bound to certain bloodlines, and by choosing a mark, you are establishing that your character has a blood connection to one of the families in the Dragonmarked houses. However, it's up to you to decide on your relationship to the house. Were you brought up in the house, or are you completely independent from it? This is best represented by your background. Consider the following options. Agent. You have a close ongoing relationship with your house. The house agent background is a good choice if you are actively working for the house. Alternatively, you could take the noble background to reflect a blood tie to the leaders of the house. You're an independent scion. You were raised and trained by the house, but you've kept your independence. This means you don't have many special privileges, but you also don't have responsibilities. Guild Artisan is a good choice to reflect basic house training, but you could choose Entertainer for the Mark of Shadow, Sailor for etc. and so forth. An Excoriate. When a Dragonmarked heir defies the house, they may be cut off from it. In the past, your mark would be flayed from your body. Although this mutilation is no longer practiced, such exiles are still called excoriates. If you're an excoriate, consider what you did to deserve this punishment. Were you a criminal, a charlatan, or perhaps a sage who engaged in forbidden research? Or a foundling. Your ancestors left the house long ago. You have no ties to the house and may not have known you are connected by blood before you manifested your Dragonmark. As an outlander or an urchin, hey, you might know nothing about the houses. As an acolyte or hermit, you could have put your faith ahead of worldly things, choosing to pursue a connection with the houses. Whatever you decide, this is an opportunity to talk with your DM about the role you'd like to play in the campaign. Do you want them to be your enemy? Would you prefer to avoid them completely? Or do you want to work your way into a position of power in the house despite being an outsider? Each Dragonmark grants a set of abilities that reflect the inherent powers of the mark. For most marks, this includes an intuition die. This can reflect supernatural instincts or guidance from the mark, or from other magical effects. Many Dragonmarks grant limited magical abilities. Over the centuries, the houses have developed tools that enhance and channel the powers of a mark, and it's these Dragonmark focus items that give the house much of their power. A Dragonmarked race gives you a very specific set of traits. However, you can also explain your class abilities as being a result of your exceptional connection to your Dragonmark. And I love that it does say that. It's not just your racial abilities that you keep in a container and then your class abilities kept in a container beside it. It's saying you can look at this as a whole. By being a Dragonmarked dwarf, I know we didn't roll sorcerer, But could that be the cause of you to become a sorcerer? Because of your race and the Dragonmark contained in it? Or something along those lines. So it's getting you to throw all of these things together and then consider the big picture. In total. In sum. If you're playing a bard with the Mark of Shadow, you could say that your illusion spells are drawn from your mark. If you're a halfling bard with the Mark of Healing, you could describe your mark as the source of your healing magic. As a life cleric with the Mark of Healing, you are reliable to use your mark to channel positive energy and perform remarkable feats of healing. You could combine this with religious faith, or you could say that the mark alone is the source of your divine magic. If you're a warlock with an aberrant Dragonmark, and this week we will make at least one character with an aberrant Dragonmark, you could say that the mark itself is your fiendish patron and the source of your arcane powers. You don't fully understand the nature of your mark, but you know that it's growing stronger and you're afraid that you might lose control of it. These descriptions don't change your character's abilities in any way. It's simply a way to add flavor and story to your character. Though if you're channeling divine power through your Dragonmark, you might use a crystal, normally an arcane focus, as your holy symbol, representing a makeshift Dragonmark focus item. Intuition dice. A Dragonmark improves your ability to perform a specific type of task. The Mark of Finding sharpens your senses and improves your perception, while the Mark of Making guides your hands when you work with artisan's tools. Each Dragonmark has a trait that allows you to roll an intuition die, a D4, when you perform an ability check with a particular skill or tool. You add the number rolled to the ability check. You don't have to be proficient with the skill or tool to gain this benefit. Feats, magic items, and other features may improve your intuition die. This increases the type of die you roll by one size, D6 to D8 to D10, to a maximum of D10. You can only roll one intuition die for a check. If you receive intuition dice from multiple sources, increase one die by one type and roll that one. For example, if a Dragonmark trait and a feat both grant intuition with dexterity stealth checks, you roll a d6 instead of a d4. 3 instances would increase your intuition die to a d8, and so on. And here we get into our Dragonmark appearance. As we are going to be Dragonmark, we're going to have it as a part of our backstory here. Here's our Dragonmark quirk. Going to be a d6. And we rolled 5. Your Dragonmark tickles when you use it. So can you imagine this? Here we have our Totem Warrior Barbarian, right? Rough and tumble, grew up on the streets, hardly trusts anyone. And every time he uses his Dragonmark, he kind of giggles to himself softly because it tickles. Okay, there is more fluff about the Dragonmark. I'm not going to get into that because we're doing character creation and not setting exploration right now, but it is on page 93 if you want to take a look at it. And you know what? I reckon that we should have rolled a D14 in some way, because this is a custom background for Eberron. But you know what? This still works very well. And so what we'll do for the other characters is we'll make sure to include a 14-sided die in the other characters we're creating. And for sure, if we don't have one... Zan, how unexpected. Thank you for the 4 cheers. And welcome, Zan. My day has been excellent. It's great seeing you again. We're continuing our exploration of Eberron by making characters that aren't the native races to Eberron. So we'll make sure that by Friday, if we don't already have a house agent, we will make sure to manufacture this to highlight this particular background. Okay. So we have the mark of hospitality, making, passage, scribing, sentinel, shadow, storm.
Boom, bit shot.
Boom! Pocket punch. Thank you very much, and thank you for using the text to speech. I love, and you all are a very creative bunch, and I love hearing what you all have to say through the various voices that we use here. Because there's 3 different ones, right? We have a female Australian voice for bits. We have a female Welsh voice for resubscriptions, and we have a male German voice for donations. And the fact that you all, that you support the channel, thank you. But also, when you use the text-to-speech, it absolutely tickles me pink, because I love hearing both the accents and what you're saying through them. But hello, Zan. Hello, Pocket Punch. All right, so here we go. We have this Urchin character who is actually kind of a stray from House Kunderic. Mark of warding traits. So we are here. Remember, this takes the place of the sub-race with dwarves. So we're going to hold onto this page and go back, and we're going to reference the player's handbook first. Your constitution score increases by 2 by virtue of being a dwarf. We already have age alignment. Size, we are technically medium-sized creatures. However, we do have a 25-foot move speed with a 12 climb, 12 swim, and a 0 fly. We do get 60 feet of dark vision. We also get Dwarven Resilience. We have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned. So advantages versus poisoned. And we have resistance to poison damage. Up here in this variant character sheet, you can see that there's little bubbles you can fill in for immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities. We also get Dwarven Combat Training. You have proficiency with Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Throwing Hammer, and Warhammer. Well, look. Hey, Delcorin. By being a barbarian, we're going to get that anyway, so we don't really need to list that. You gain proficiency with the artisan's tools of your choice. Smith's tools, brewer supplies, or mason's tools. Here. Thank you for the bubble wrap. Huh? There you go. I'm glad that everything arrived all right for you, Del. Now, given the fact that we were an urchin, and we probably didn't learn traditional dwarven tools, you can always ask your DM, especially because, look, a slot is provided as per the race to get a tool proficiency. You can say, well, can I get something else? Can I learn to make something else or do something else? You know, if we already know our disguise kit and our thieves tools, and if we're the type of person, I don't know, you look at artisan's tools and you say, oh, well, maybe he learned how to make shoes, so he's a cobbler. Or if he got a busted lip doing enough street fighting in the streets of Sharn, what if instead, as a tool proficiency, we got like a healer's kit proficiency? Wouldn't that be something? Or, you know, so yeah, we could learn to make something. In fact, we'll pop over to Chapter 5 real quick and take a look. Sorry, this will flash a little bit. Here's artisan tools. Alchemist supplies, brewer supplies, calligrapher, carpenter, cartographer, cobbler, cook, glassblower, jeweler, leatherworker, mason, painter, potter, smith, tinker, weaver, woodcarver. Those are specifically the artisan tools. Now, if you did want to go, you know, there's a herbalism kit, disguise, forgery, and we have those two. Musical instrument, navigator's tools, poisoner's kit. Is he adept with poisons, or is he does in his personality? He does say he'd rather kill someone in their sleep than a fair fight. As a flaw, doesn't mean he won't fight in the streets, but he just rather do it. Like, does anyone want to just get hit in the face? But you know what? If he's lived so long in Sharn and he has this City Secrets background feature, what if then, instead of getting a traditional dwarven upbringing with those artisan's tools, what if we made him proficient with cartographers tools, right? He can make maps of the city, especially that have all the secret passages and the sewer systems and all of that. And isn't that interesting? We've made him not just a savage barbarian, but someone who's actually observant and thoughtful. Well, it's a flaw because it might create a little duplicity in the character, especially because many consider poisoning people or killing people, who are unable to fight back as being dishonorable. We also get stone cunning. Whenever you make an intelligence history check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in the history skill and add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your local proficiency or your normal one. We also learn common and dwarven. There is that sentiment in that phrase, Delcorin. Yep. Because look, I mean, you often want to posture like, I'm the dominant one. I can fight. I can survive. So yeah, I'll punch you in the face. But if you punch someone in the face, that means you could get punched or worse back. And so really, you just like it if they would just die in their sleep. Makes it easier for everyone. Now, as we did roll a hill dwarf, you have to remember in Eberron that for dwarves, the Dragonmark replaces the benefits of your subrace. And if you want to keep Hill Dwarf, you're welcome to. Or if you want to put something like a Dragonmarked dwarf. Or if you want to come over here and you are a warding dwarf. Something like that. So these are the traits that we get from the Mark of Warding. Instead of replacing the Hill Dwarf traits. Your dexterity and intelligence scores increase by 1. 1 int, 1 dex. Master of Locks. When you make an intelligence history, intelligence investigation, or thieves tools check involving lock and trap mechanisms, you can roll 1 intuition die, a d4, and add the number rolled to the ability check. Remember, you don't have to be proficient to get this extra bonus. Dragonmark, we get Master of Locks. We also get Wards and Seals. You can use your mark to cast the alarm spell as a ritual. Starting at 3rd level, you can cast Arcane Lock once with this trait, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for this spell, or for these spells. So we actually have, even though we're a pure barbarian, by virtue of our Urchin background and our Mark of Warding, we're kind of a rogue. We're a roguish or a thiefy barbarian. Now we have not taken We have not taken the feat. We just have a basic Dragonmark. And again, throughout the course of the week, we will see if we roll a character who is Dragonmarked and will take the feat. Otherwise, we'll make sure that we make one at the end. Let's come down here. You can use your mark to cast the alarm spell as a ritual. I think alarm is a first level. So we're going to put mark of warding, alarm, ritual, and our mark of warding, arcane lock, once per long rest. And just to note that this is going to be int, and this is going to be int based. So, a barbarian with a spell sheet, huh? Yeah, look at that. And that's a dwarf with a lot of roguey stuff. So there we have our race. We have our, and now we got to go to our class. Let me make sure. Okay. Now we're going to go. Come on now. There we go, arrow. Collapse this and go to Barbarian. We are level 12, so here are the goodies that we're going to get. Our proficiency bonus at level 12 is going to be a +4. And we are going to have rages. Rage 5 times a day. Or like long rest. And our rage damage. Damage +3. We are a D12 hit die class, and as we're level 12, we have 12 D12. So if we maxed out our 12 times, that's just gross. That's just gross. 12 times. I know, that was lame. As a barbarian, we get... let's see, light armor and medium armor proficiencies. Light, medium, and shields. Well, a gross is 12 dozen. So it's 144. Rin, thank you very much for the host. We are also going to get proficiency with simple weapons and martial. And we're going to get to choose 2 skills from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. Well, given our personality, let's see, we had to steal things, you don't trust anyone, you've got a price on your head, your clans arranged your marriage and your future, you've decided to have a few adventures, and so maybe this was actually, you're being married off by your sort of adoptive clan in Lower Dura. Survival, yeah, I think survival for an urchin would be a good one, because you gotta scrounge up things to eat and fresh water to drink. And also, I would say that animal handling would be another good one, given the fact that he's a totem barbarian who started out with a pet mouse, who presumably is the spirit animal that led him to become this totem barbarian. So, Coffee Cat, I very much like that idea, survival, and I do think animal handling could be another one. Unless you think, like, perception or something, but look, if he's a barbarian... I don't think he really needs to know I mean, he can take some hits. Not that he wants to be hit. We can make a lot of, we can make a lot of arguments for one or the other. And if any of you think that his other skills should be something other than animal handling, throw it out there. This is not my character. This is our character that we're building together. I definitely like survival, though. Alright, we get some starting equipment. We get a great axe or any martial melee weapon. Coffee Cat, I mean, you said that you were kind of digging this character. You love him already. So it says great axe is kind of a default barbarian weapon. Do you want to give him a particular martial weapon, whether it's a great weapon or otherwise? I mean, does he use a great weapon? Or is he actually a one-hand and shield kind of fighter? How are you seeing this this street urchin who's grown up and hardened on the streets by this tough life, is finding it difficult to trust people? How does this person fight? A great axe or any other kind of martial weapon? And I don't mind, instead of a great weapon, if you want to go a one-handed weapon and a shield of some kind. 2 hand axes or any simple weapon, and an explorer's pack, and 4 javelins. In fact, given that it's an urchin and this is an urban-style campaign, instead of an explorer's pack, we could even do something like a burglar's pack, which has a lot of handy things for me, or even a dungeoneer's pack, because it is a city of towers and climbing and bridge security is important. So, as a DM, if we're theming this, you could approach me and say, look, I normally get an explorer's pack. Because of where we're playing and who this character is, could I take another pack instead? And I'd say, yeah, you know what? A burglar or a dungeoneer's pack does sound appropriate. So what you could choose from there, or stick with the explorers. So I don't know. Why don't we give him a burglar's pack? And then we'll also give him 4 javelins. I kind of like sword and shield style or a great sword. Well, which would you like? Do you want to give him a greatsword? Is he a big two-handed barbarian, or do you want him to fight with a warhammer and a shield, or a trident and a shield, or he has simple and martial proficiencies. I'll let you choose that, and I want to propose something interesting, right? If he can start with any simple weapon. A simple weapon can include... Actually, I'll go to it here. Equipment is going to flash. A light crossbow or a short bow. Considering our mark is making us a little bit more dexterous, and dex on a barb is not a bad thing. You could consider having the simple weapon be something like a light crossbow. That way, if he needs to, from a distance, he can try and take people out. Yep, I think the crossbow for a ranged... Yeah. You know, especially if you're fighting in a city and you're on one bridge and your enemy's on the other, you could pew-pew back and forth. So let me know what you want to do for his melee option, Coffee. If you want to give him a big two-hander, or if you want to take him with a one-hand, with the option, look, there are some versatile weapons that can be wielded in 2 hands, but at least a one-handed weapon and a shield, or do you want him to go two-hander? Bobicus, I've killed another PC. Who will stop these sinful hands? What what happened, Bobicus? What happened at your tabletop? Okay, so Rage does have it. It is a whole new game when you're raging with this character. I would urge you to read that. You also get Unarmored Defense. It's 10 plus Dex plus Con if you're not wearing anything at all. But, I mean, for modesty and PG-13's sake, we'll at least, pretend you have a loincloth or something. We are also going to get Reckless Attack. You get advantage to hit by offering advantage to be hit. Danger Sense. You gain an uncanny sense when things nearby aren't as they should be, giving you the edge when you dodge away from danger. We will get our Primal Path, and we'll visit that in a little bit, and we'll look at our ASIs. We're also going to get an extra attack. Fast movement, we're going to get another 10 feet of speed, bringing us to 35, 17, and 17. We're going to be getting a Feral Instinct. Brutal Critical. And Relentless Rage. Warhammer and Shield. If he loses his shield, he can just use it two-handed. Alright, that makes sense, Coffee Cat. So we'll go Warhammer, which is 1d8 plus Strength. However, it is a 1d10 versatile. Bludgeoning. And we'll give him a shield up here, too. With a Barbarian's Unarmored Defense, a shield does stack. But armor, even leather armor, will not stack. Alright, now we are getting into Path of the Totem Warrior. Spirit Seeker. You have attunement with the natural world, giving you kinship with beasts. At 3rd level, when you adopt this path, you gain the ability to cast Beast Sense and Speak with Animal, but only as rituals as described in Chapter 10. I think those are level 2. So if we go Spirit Seeker, we have Beast Sense, Ritual, and Speak with Animals as a ritual. We get a Totem Spirit at 3rd level. You adopt this path, you choose a Totem Spirit and gain its feature. You must make or acquire a physical totem object, an amulet or similar adornment that incorporates fur, feathers, claws, or teeth or bones of the totem animal. So maybe by 3rd level, the pet mouse that he grew up with had passed away, and he kept the body. Like maybe he preserved it or dried it, or he has a little like a mouse skin, I don't know, something on a necklace, or he has the rat tail. At your option, you can also gain minor physical attributes that are reminiscent to your totem spirit. For example, if you have a bear totem spirit, you might be unusually hairy and thick-skinned. Now, in the PHB, it gives you 3 archetypes of animals. You do not have to share that specific animal. If we think that his mousy spirit companion will actually do something like, I don't know, make him resistant to damage. Maybe he was a tough little mouse. Or an eagle. While you're raging, you aren't wearing heavy armor. Other creatures have disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you. So it's very flighty and dodgy, as a mouse could be. Or the wolf. While you're raging, your friends have advantage on melee attack rolls. I don't know if he'd take the wolf, because that's very social, and this is kind of a loner character. So maybe we go Totem Spirit, and we'll go mouse, but we're basing it off of the eagle. At 6th level, we gain an aspect of the beast. And you gain the might of a bear, your carrying capacity. Well, a mouse, maybe not so much. You gain the eyesight of an eagle. You can see up to 1 mile away with no difficulty. Does something like that convey mouse? Or Wood Wolf. You gain the hunting sensibilities of a wolf. You can track other creatures while traveling at a fast pace, and you can move stealthily while traveling at a normal pace. That might be more like a mouse, right? As it hunts down food and crawls through ductwork and sewers and everything. So what if we went wolf? Or I'm sorry, so this would be... So we're going... Maybe we'll do this. Spirit Seeker, mouse. And then we are taking eagle and we're taking wolf as our totem spirit and aspect of the beef. Huh. Cow is apparently our spirit animal here. We get a spirit walker. At 10th level, you can cast Commune with Nature spell, but only as a ritual. When you do so, a spiritual version of one of the animals you chose for the totem spirit or aspect of the beast appears to you to convey the information you seek. And I think Commune with Nature, if that is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, so Commune with Nature is going to be in here somewhere. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to explore Totemic Attunement. That would be our last incorporation. But that's fine. I think we have a good direction. Hey, DJ, thank you very much for the follow. Run, follow me. Yeah, Be Sense and Speak with Animals are 2nd level. And then we need a Commune with Nature. Is 5th level. Commune with Nature. Ritual. And we get this through our Spirit Walker. Barbarian with a spell sheet. How about that, huh? And you may think, too, like, how is this going to come in handy in a city? Do you realize how handy being able to commune with rats and birds and bugs and other things can be in a city? Dogs and cats and all this other stuff? Bobicus, the party of level 5 PCs had discovered a kobold and chased it back down to its lair. The kobolds had packed the hallway with furniture for 15 feet, making it very difficult terrain, taking a full 30 feet of movement to move through one square and providing full cover if you took an action to hide while in it. The monk went ahead and discovered a small room of kobolds with no other entrances and exits. DJ, I'm sorry, I'm catching up in chat. We are going through some D&D 101. This is a random character that we are generating using the core 3 rule books and also incorporating the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, which is kind of the latest. It's not official yet, so it's kind of like Unearthed Arcana, or it's officially unofficial or unofficially official. Extra content in order to make these characters have the flavor of the Eberron campaign setting. And so this is a good practice in rules and in challenging ourselves to take these disparate, randomly generated elements and make a compelling character and tell a story with him or her if we generate a female character. And again, thank you for that follow, DJ. I hope I didn't keep you waiting in reply too long. Sorry, that's on me. Bobicus, making D&D characters to show how it's done. I'm talking about a session that you just ran. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you, Bobicus, for tagging in on me. Bobicus, he was leapt upon by the kobolds here, took some damage, and slew 3 before turning around to head back to the safety of the party. The kobolds pulled out some of the debris from the bottom of the furniture pile, forcing him to make a strength saving throw to avoid being restrained. He failed. He takes some damage while restrained. On the next turn, he makes his strength check and worms his way back through the debris to his party. Okay, DJ. Well, I'll be watching that. I got on a soapbox because this character is turning out to be very, very interesting. And I got on a soapbox and I was going on about ways that we can think about him and incorporate his abilities, and the fact that we have this very naturalistic barbarian but is growing up in a very urban environment, and how that's actually still extremely useful, etc. and so forth. How long have you been role-playing, DJ, or are you new to role-playing or D&D in particular? So here we go. Here's our background. Here's our race, including our Dragonmark, which is replacing the hill part of the Hill Dwarf. And here's our class. These are the 3 legs upon which your character in 5th edition sits atop, on the stool, okay? We have effectively made a complete character. We have a chassis. It's beautiful, it's polished, it's aerodynamic, and it has a nice waxy coating to it. But it's not going to go anywhere, because we can conceptualize things, but for playing D&D, we got to drop an engine into it, and the engine to our character is our ability scores. And so this is one of the last things that we end up doing. We use the standard array, and so you have 16 pre-generated numbers that you... I'm 16. Whew. You have 6 pre-generated numbers that you can drop in any order into the abilities here. Bobicus, after a few turns of a tense stalemate, the party starts breaking down the barrier and removing the very difficult terrain, leaving behind merely difficult terrain. The party slew 4 to 5 more kobolds who they could see without going into the room, and then again there was a tense stalemate. DJ says, also, I'm trying somewhat to make a Warforged bard with the Eberron new content, and I've been role-playing for about 15 months or so, playing D&D for about a month. Well, a lot of what we talk about, I mean, yes, we flavor it through D&D, but this is solid role-playing, storytelling basics here. If you want some help making a Warforged bard, let me know with what you need help, and I'll do my best to help you out. And if I can't do it, maybe someone in chat can help out as well. As well, DJ, if you wanted to join our Discord for when we're not live, because look, I may be making a random character, but your question and your concern and your wanting to build a character is very important. So, you know, you will be addressed here. However, you can pop over to our Discord here, and if you do, it's safe for work. You don't have to worry about the content that's uploaded there if you're at work or around family or friends. And it actually looks like, I was just about to say, make sure that your Discord and Twitch handles line up. We have, down here, we have the project workshop. And so myself, and you can see that there's a mentor network up here. We have mentors that if you tag us with @RPmentor or whatever other mentoring you need help with, myself and others can come to the workshop and we'll help you with what you're trying to do. If you need writing advice, art advice, if you want to try streaming, we have people who will help you set up a stream. It's really good. It's a fun community, and I hope that you enjoy your stay here. Oh, and Coffee Cat, yeah, you did promise that you were going to make some details for Mordecai, the tiefling you play in our Tuesday game. Oh, I love how gaudy that is. I love the sash. Oh my gosh. Oh, and a star and a moon in the nose. Wow, that is cool. I'm digging this, Coffee Cat. And the little tuft too at the end. DJ, I would like some feedback about the backstory of the character and the like. Sure. So, DJ, if you want, because the Twitch chat has character limits. I think it's like 250 character limit. You could break it up and tell a story as Bobicus is doing about his own tale from the tabletop. Or if you want to write up the backstory of your character and drop it into Project Workshop, then we can take a look at it, and myself and maybe some others can help give an opinion on it. Sure, no problem, DJ. Go ahead and do so. While you do that, I'll put a couple more details on the character we have going. So here's our standard array, and why don't we delve into it? Barbarians mainly focus in the physical stats, right? Dex and Con give you this unarmored defense, and strength is where a lot of your attacks are going to lie, especially with the rage ability. So we could go something like 15, 14. Actually, heck, what if we did this? What if we went 15 Dex, 14 Con, 13 Strength, 12 Int, 10 Wisdom, and he's not a very charismatic fellow. 8 Charisma. What this would mean after we apply the racial and Dragonmark modifiers is his Dex goes to a 16, his Con goes to a 16, and his Int goes to a 13. Wisdom at 10, Charisma at 8. Because he's level 12, we get an ASI at level 4, level 8, and level 12. So how about this? In our first one, why don't we level out his strength and his intelligence? Unless we wanted to give him... I think the high intelligence is going to be good for things like thieves' tools, perhaps, or even cartographers' tools. I don't think int is going to be a dump stat on him. You could argue that we should go wisdom, but don't forget, over the course of the campaign, your proficiency modifier is going to mean more than your ability modifier. And so this means that he's not the wisest, but particularly when it comes to animal handling and survival, he is wiser. For the second, we can bring his strength up to 16. And even if we wanted to really round him out, we could come down here and give him a 12 wisdom with our last stat bump, right? It's 2 in 1 stat or 1 in 2 stats. How about this? That means that he is a 3 strength, 3 dex, 3 con, 2 int, 1 whiz, and -1 charisma. Oh, I'm sorry. We have strength and con as our saving throw proficiencies, by the way, being a barbarian. That's going to give us a 7 saving throw, 3 athletics, 7 con saving throw, 3, 3, 7, and 7. 2's down the line, so he's picked up some knowledge in his 95 years. Wisdom 1s and proficiencies are going to be 5s. And we're just going to copy and paste this -1 all the way down charisma. Bobicus, the monk, runs into the room and is hit with the readied actions of the... Yeah, readied act... That is something you as a PC have to remember. Monsters can ready actions also. The readied actions of 5 remaining kobolds and drops to 0. One of the kobolds drags the downed monk deeper into the room. The other PCs start streaming into the room. The cleric runs in and casts Healing Word. The kobold leader, a third level sorcerer, tells him to stay down or die. He instead gets up and attacks the sorcerer, imagining him to be another weak kobold. He takes the leader to 2 HP, but not to 0. The kobold sorcerer responds with Scorching Ray and crits on the first attack. I decided to count all the damage at once instead of instantly killing him with 4 death failures from the remaining 2 Scorching Ray attacks. But now one of the remaining kobolds has picked up our monk and is holding a knife to his throat and demands the remaining PCs drop their weapons if they want the monk to live. Whew, Bobicus, this is getting pretty intense. I hope you copy-paste this over into Tales from the Tabletop, Bob, because I think there's a lot of people who love reading this story also that aren't on in the channel right now. This is going to give our passive perception be an 11, as that's 10 plus 1, which is our perception modifier, and that's how naturally perceptive we are. Our initiative is going to be a +3. That's pretty scary for a barbarian, as initiative is a dexterity check. Remember that for Jack of all trades, and the champion feature something like accomplished, I don't know, sportsman or something like that. I forget what it is. Our armor class per unarmored defense is going to be 10 plus dex plus con, and we're wielding a shield. our armor class going out into the city and nothing more than like a loincloth and a bandana is going to be an 18. I mean, we have a shield also, but you get what I'm saying. All right, Coffee, thank you very much for helping to create this character. Our hit points at level 1, you always get the maximum of what your hit die produce. So that's 12. Then for our 11 remaining levels, because remember, he's a 12th level character, but we've already taken care of the hit points at level 1. So we're going to go 11 times 7 because that is half our hit die plus 1. Then for every level, so for all 12, you get bonus hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. And so here's our algebra for our hit points. This is as complex as it gets, everyone. 36 plus 77 plus 12. So we have 89. Whoop. We have 89 plus 36. That's going to be 95. It's going to be 125 HP at level 12. Now, we can calculate our attack modifiers. So when we swing our weapon, our Warhammer in particular, well, we're proficient, so we get our proficiency bonus, and it is a strength-based weapon, so we're going to get a +7. Our javelins are going to be the same, whether we're stabbing with them or throwing them, because they are a thrown weapon, and that is a keyword, meaning that we can use strength instead of dex for this projectile. Our light crossbow is going to be the same but different. Our light crossbow is a dexterity-based weapon, so therefore it's a +3. However, we're proficient, so this is still a +7. It's just the same thing but different. And for all of these, we're going to get a +3 modifier while not raging. If we're raging and dealing melee damage, so with a Warhammer or Javelin in melee, or I guess we could improvise the light crossbow as a club in a pinch, we'll get an extra 3 damage from our rage damage boost. Our spell slots, we don't have spell slots because our spells come to us specially from our Dragonmark and from our class, or in particular our archetype or path. So we don't have any spell slots, but we do have spells that we can cast even as a barbarian. We have a very full backstory and personality that has come about because of our background. The last thing that we need to do, really, to complete the character is to find out what is he hanging onto as a memory of his parents. We're going to roll that as a trinket. This is something he's had for a great long while and reminds him of his parents. That is a percentile roll. 97. A tiny mechanical crab or spider that moves about when it's not being observed. Ooh. Maybe in some way we could incorporate that trinket into his being this totem warrior. Or instead of a pet mouse, maybe it was this thing. Trinket number 97. So a small mechanical something that moves about when it's not being observed. How about that? Bobicus continues, most of the PCs comply, but one doesn't. When she releases her 2 arrows, killing 2 more kobolds, the one holding the knife to the monk's throat readied, action activated, and he slit the PC's throat, dealing 2 death failures. Before the cleric's turn came up to save him, the monk had to roll a death saving throw. The divination wizard's portents were all failures, so he had to roll. He failed his roll. Bobicus, I mean, you can say that you killed the PC, or I don't think you said that you did it, but another PC died. I don't know if that's necessarily your sinful hands. I mean, you described the situation, at least as you're describing it to us over here. You described the situation, and, hey, Alexander, good to see you. And they reacted by continuing to be aggressive and pushing, even when it seemed like the kobolds were willing to negotiate or something along those lines. So I don't know. How did your player character take the death, Bobicus? Super Colliders, hello. Bobicus, I chalk this up mostly to PC arrogance in the face of kobolds, but also to the excellent defensive setup of the kobolds, and also the kobolds' inability to run away from the fight, forcing the... Yes, it did seem like that the cats were chasing the rats into a dead end, and what else are they going to expect but the rats to fight back? Alright, so here's our first Eberron character, a Dragonmarked Dwarf Barbarian Totem Warrior who's an Urchin. Very, very cool background here. As you can see, Eberron can really help you add a lot more to your character in order to steep them in the particular flavor of the Eberron setting itself. Hi, Osakachi, and meow to you too. I think there's some cat emotes here. What do we have? Oh, there's Kippa and Cool Cat. And I thought there was at least one more cat emote. Maybe not. DJ, okay, I finished what I got so far for my character in Discord. Alright, then we'll do this. DJ, we finished a character. I'm going to get up and take a short break. I'm going to use the restroom and get a snack and everything. And when I come back after about 10 minutes, we will open the next section by looking at your character's backstory, and maybe we can help provide some feedback in some way. Now, if any of you out there want to go into Discord and start reading the background and providing feedback already, you are welcome to. You don't have to wait for me. But DJ, we'll start the next section by going over your character, okay?